Between the late 1960s and the late 1990s, overall employment levels in the economy were broadly the same. 75% of the working age population were in work. However, what we've seen somewhat since is increasingly made up of two populations. It is workless families, particularly workless lone parents. But on the other side, we have the single earner male breadwinner model, where it still exists, in shrunken numbers, but it still exists, where that wage is no longer sufficiently enough, particularly amongst the less educated, to support the family and keep it out of poverty. So exploring what was sort of lying behind this big social change in the distribution of work across families, three sort of findings emerged. The first was that there were simply more families. People were partnering later, divorcing more, separating, and spending more time living as single adults. And that this, therefore, is more families. For the same level of work, you're going to end up with more workless families. More important, though, was that there was a shift in the employment pattern away from less educated men, particularly older men, and towards prime age mothers, typically with younger children, again, generally better educated. But the key point is that they were in different families, so that we had more dual earner families tending to be better educated, and more no earner families generally focused on the less educated. So even when going within less educated people, we found evidence of a polarisation of work between more dual earners and no earner families. This seemed to be strongly associated with the UK's welfare model at that time, which was heavily means tested, which meant that work incentives were weak. The policy response was to use tax credits to make work pay, such that if you're taking a low wage job, the income was supplemented by extra tax rebates to the family. This polarisation of work into dual earner and no earner families was far from universal across countries. Now, in countries with welfare systems similar to the UK, Australia, Ireland, Belgium, we saw similar levels of this work pulling apart into no earner and dual earner families. But in southern European countries, the male breadwinner primary earner model remained firmly intact right through until the recent recession.